Learn to love it because it is the best thing going.
And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast, along with my partners, Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and tonight our very special guests, Dwight, Vick, and Grayson Wimbish. I'm Curtis Wilson, and we are brought to you by Moments on the Maury. Looking for a weekend getaway, but still need to make it to Blacksburg for a game? Then Moments on the Maury might be exactly what you are looking for. Owned by a proud Hokie and located just outside Lexington, Virginia, a little over an hour drive from Blacksburg. This place gives you fishing, kayaking, just relaxing by or in the Maury River, right out the back door. Click the QR code up in the upper left-hand corner to take a look at their Airbnb, and also check out Moments on the Maury on their Instagram page. What is going on, gentlemen, this fine Tuesday evening?
Man, it's been a weird day.
Go on.
I mean, it's always a weird day when someone is like iconic as Dolly Parton passes on. So like,
oh man,
that hurt. That hurt, man. I mean, I got a rep tonight. I mean, I found out in the middle of a conference at work, and so it just awful, man. But what a legend, what a life.
80 years is a great run, and I mean she. It's funny how that news hit every group chat today. And my little brother, you know, he sent me a message and he said that's one of the few famous people who really took their life and made the world a better place. I think we can all agree with that, you know. I firmly believe Dolly Parton loved everyone and truly embodied that until the end. So, I mean, we lost an American icon today. You know, rest in peace, Dolly Parton. Wow.
R.I.P.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it, Grayson. Iconic across every spectrum of entertainment, right?
Of course.
Like every spectrum, music, TV, movies, all that stuff. And, you know, great songwriter, obviously. I mean, everybody knows at least a few Dolly songs here and there. So, yeah, 100%. You lost an icon today. Like you said, though, 80 years. And to me, one of those people who was put on the earth who did make this world a much better place. Like some of her reading stuff for low-income neighborhoods all over the place, right? Like, yeah. Sign up, get free books to kids. Man, somebody that does that, you know they got a good heart. So, yeah, 100%.
I said it today. It's kind of crazy. Like, she is a multi-genre Hall of Famer in music, and that might be the least impressive thing about her. Like, that's saying something.
And you left out, how could you forget Curtis? I mean, beyond the music and entertainment, I mean, you got to talk about live entertainment, which is from American Park, Dollywood. You got to talk about Dollywood too. I mean, so she just a multi hyphenate of a human being, and just a diva of a woman. You know, doesn't get better than that. So,
I just think it's just important. When people like her pass away, I just think it's important, man, to, you know, like as much as we love Virginia Tech football, Virginia Tech, the university, and Hokie Nation, it's just a reminder, man, to like make sure no matter win or lose in life, man, you know, she left a legacy, right? And you talk about just making sure you appreciate whoever you have in your corner, whoever you have in your village. Like, take a moment. Don't just wait to the eulogy. Like, text people you love, check in on your people. I know I'm real busy, but take some moments every now and then to smell the air and give back, you know, pouring to somebody else. You know, so like I saw it and I was like, damn, like I remember first time I saw Dolly Parton, I was a youngin'. She had some crazy funny movie with Sylvester Stallone. You know, I don't even remember the name of it. You know what I'm saying?
Rhinestone.
Like
Rhinestone.
Rhinestone's hilarious. Dwight been pulling out a Rhinestone reference. Never thought that would be coming from here.
Yeah. You ain't know I was hip. I'm versatile. I'm diverse. And I mean, I saw it and I was like, damn, because I knew Sylvester Stallone from all the other stuff. And then I seen that movie. She was teaching him how to sing country music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, shout out, salute to her and her family, man, her legacy. I've been on a lot of stuff, from even stuff that impacted my family as far as civil rights. So like people don't realize she was more than an entertainer, and I think it's always cool when you have a platform to give back. That's always going to be me. I always feel like giving back is one of the things that we all have an opportunity to do. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, rest in peace, man.
Hey, Shelton.
Man.
And Shelton has joined us a little bit late. Shelton, you all right, man?
Yeah, I was here the whole time.
He's Spider-Man.
That's a hell of a punchline right there.
He got us. Well, everybody, Shelton Moss has joined us as well tonight. And, this is the third and final preview panel tonight, as we have been discussing Virginia Tech for the last 3 weeks with a plethora of great individuals. Week 1, Pete B from Two Deep and Dan from Tales from the Terror Dome. Last week, Mike McDaniel from Hokie Hangover and David Cunningham from Tech Sideline. And tonight, we bring back two of our longtime favorites. Grayson Wimbish, as far as it goes with the social media world, man, around Virginia Tech and Virginia Tech football, you have absolutely crushed it since day one. It's always great to have you here. Man, from the RVA originally, also ties to me and Brian's hometown. So it's like it always eventually, like, you start talking, it's like, why did you come on? We have such a good time, because it's almost like we're blood.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and if we were blood, it's Wimbish, Curtis. I'd say this every year. He always calls me Wimbush, and I let him have it. But, I'm going to remind you, Wimbish, it's ISH. Everybody out there, just so y'all know. But no, I can
Bish like bitch.
I let Curtis have that. Every time I get on here, it happens, and God bless. I love Curtis.
Get that man's name. Well, this is what I can say, Grayson. Curtis screws up everybody's name. It's not just you.
No, that's my guy right there, and I love it. And it's almost because we've been doing this, y'all. And first off, I appreciate you guys having me on always. This is year 4. I'm a senior academically with the Boundary Corner preview. So, I mean, it's a testament to you guys, the fact that y'all have been doing this as long as you have. And it's an honor and a privilege to be here with Dwight, Vick, Shelton Moss. I mean, the OG3 up top. It's always a pleasure, guys, and there's a lot to talk about. So
100%. And you kind of alluded with the introduction there. Hokie legend, Hokie great, owner, founder of Victory Life, his own podcast. We check his stuff out all the time. He's been with us a bunch, just like Grayson has. Dwight, welcome back, man. Hope all is going good, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate being back on, man. Anytime y'all reach out. I mean, I talk to y'all, or I listen to y'all every day. So my guy Don V said it a few years ago. I mean, we have a lot of podcasts in the Virginia Tech community. Some good ones, some really good ones, some great guys that really cover tech. But I feel like you guys are the best. I agree with Don V. I feel like you guys do a phenomenal job breaking down the matchups and also giving a non-biased opinion, and the fact that y'all can hold tech accountable. I'm big on accountability. So anytime y'all have me on or let me come up here and talk my ish like Grayson, I'm good.
Curtis,
White tying the bow, baby.
Dwight to Curtis. Remember, I talk my ish. It's Wimbish. Remember that, Kurt.
I love
that. We got a bunch of stuff to cover. Before we get into the team stuff, let's start with this. Sheldon, I got you lined up here because the stuff that's going on in the last few days just in the college football world has been pretty crazy.
Yeah, is that for me?
That's you. Yeah. Your name's on there. Put your name on. Because you work in collegiate athletics, so I have to.
Yeah, no, it's because I had to pull up the prompts. Yeah, but that's no.
I thought you were already here, Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, good point. Yeah, Yeah, like we had a baseball player come back for his would have been 5th year due to the court injunction, and then now that injunction got stayed, which means it's no longer applied. So that means that the 2022 high school class no longer has eligibility for the 5th year. So I don't know what he's even going to do. But yes, it is. It is crazy times.
We got conferences now coming out, just saying, "Hey, we're not doing it." It's wild.
SEC.
Everybody.
Yeah, I think Big Ten did it too.
Yeah, Big
All right.
Ten did it.
Shout out our
So,
guy Daquan, man.
I'll jump on it, Sheldon. Sheldon's having some technical issues. So basically, y'all know about it. It's been all over the place. Judge granted 16 players, NFL players, extra season of eligibility based on the new 5-to-play rules. Obviously, some of these guys were under contract. Some of them were not. Some of them had been signed and released. Other guys had not been signed. So I'm going to start with Grayson on this. What is your perspective on this? Because – and then obviously what happened today with everybody like, no, if you went to the NFL, you can't do it. What, I mean, how crazy is this? Because it sounds like LSU's going to fight it.
Well, first off, it's Lane Kiffin. No one's surprised that he's going to try and fight that. He's like colossal POS he is. No one's surprised. They got a lot of real winners down there in Baton Rouge. Shout out Kim Mulkey. She did the same thing if it benefited her. It's ridiculous. What happened to the game I love? You sign with an agent. I understand it's the NIL era. If you're a professional athlete, you are a professional athlete. There's no I go pro, I come back. And listen, I know, shout out Daquan Wright. He was a Hokie at one point. He was a hell of a football player at VT and at Ole Miss. But listen, man, it gets to a point where you have these 23-year-old grown men who are at this point now professional athletes. What, you're going to come back and be playing against 18-year-olds? It's the disparity of talent and maturity. At what point is there a cap on that? And I'm not trying to discredit Indiana for winning a national championship. They were a great football team last year. But what was their average age on that team? 22 and a half years old or something like that. I'm not with this 6th and 7th year stuff, man, especially if you have gone to the draft and you're a professional athlete now. Absolutely not.
What about you, Dwight? I mean, you were actually just talking about just a few minutes before we jumped on about, your experience becoming a professional athlete back, when you got signed.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings. I concur with Grayson, but I have mixed feelings because I kind of wish you guys know me personally. I'm not a hater. I really do celebrate today's men and women athletes from high school all the way up to the pros, especially college and high school. It's a cold bucket of water that's being splashed in the face, and especially in sports like football, when athletes, their career comes to an end. As we were just talking right before we went live, I graduated Virginia Tech with 2 degrees, later got 2 more degrees. So I got 4 degrees sitting behind me, 2 from Tech. I'm a licensed therapist. I own 2 small businesses, one's for-profit, one nonprofit. Do I wish I can get into DeLorean with Michael J. Fox and go back in time? I mean, I would have loved to have 5 years to play the 5 for 5. Having a son that's a D1 athlete right now, he's a sophomore, knowing that he's got 3 more years after that, I'm happy for him. And he's getting a little bit of some money on the side, through NIL. And I'm happy for him because, regardless, you're going to have to hang him up, whether it's the cleats or put the basketball away or whatever sport. But I think Grayson is spot on. I think some of these guys, and I hate generalizing. I don't know everyone's situation, but there's a manipulation situation going on because once you enter the NFL, you get released. That's part of the accountability. That's part of your legacy, your story. And I think some of these guys got to, face the music, whether it's getting on Indeed or, starting your internship program, going to grad school, or, there's different ways now, more ways to make money than ever before. But I think if you look at, it's a microcosm of what goes on. Even I'm going to speak on Virginia. Now since COVID, most students in Virginia, if you're in high school or middle school, you get retakes. you can do as many retakes as you can during that semester, that quarter. That was not a thing back in the day. If you got a D or F, you had to live with it. Now you can take retakes. You have more mental health days, which I'm in favor of being a mental health guy. But I think there's a level of accountability you got to have and responsibility when, it comes to playing football. I mean, to go back after going through an entire preseason camp and to go back to college, you see it in basketball, guys coming from the G League, signing deals, going back. I think Louisville had a guy last year. I mean, the biggest losers in all this are the high school kids. Having a son that went through this, I was on your show talking to you guys, Tally, and all y'all about my son 3 years ago. And he had to go prep at Folk Union. He's a FUMA guy. And with the portal and everything going on, NIL, he was one of millions of kids across the country, I should say thousands of kids across the country that were impacted because there was a log jam. Because some of these guys, because of COVID, got an extra year. And then on top of it, there was really no systematic approach in place for men and women to know, okay, I got this much time left. I mean, I saw guys that were like, hey, I'm going to just do this and sit out. I mean, how many guys last year? I was very vocal about guys sitting out on purpose at Virginia Tech, because they didn't want to play. And I think, respectfully, I know some of those guys. I'm not going to curse tonight, but, it rhymes with ditch, and I just felt like that was that. I just feel like that way. I know I'm an unk. I know I'm an OG, but there's some stuff I'm new school on. I love the new school, some of the stuff they're getting, but some of the stuff I'm old school on, and Grayson's spot on. Like, it's real. I'm glad that conferences are taking a stand, but I don't know if it was Grayson or it's going to be a loophole. Somebody's going to find a loophole, and it's just wild to me. Every time I wake up, I look at college football and basketball, there's all these rules, and I'm like, man, this is kind of crazy. It impacts the game.
Facts.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it there, and one of the problems that we're looking at is that you get these situations where until something is passed at the federal level, and there's still going to be challenges after that, but like right now you've got 50 plus different jurisdictions that you're having to deal with these, potential lawsuits, and everybody's got their own agenda. There's a reason that this lawsuit was filed in Louisiana, just like there was a reason the other one earlier was in Texas. Like, this is how things are going, man. And until we get something where we can at least have everybody's operating under the same rules, even if those rules are getting challenged, like at least then, you're not going to be able to like judge hunt and all this other stuff just to get a favorable situation for a specific university. So,
well, Grayson, you must have read the article that CBS, John Talty, Chris Armour wrote about 11 o'clock this morning. Kiffin was encouraging these guys, hey, if you get cut, sue and come play for me.
Man, Kiffin's a dirty motherfucker.
I didn't read that article. I didn't read that article, but going back to square one, knowing who we're dealing with here, I'm not surprised at all, and neither should any of you be. It's the same thing. It's just like, but also it transcends Lane Kiffin. I mean, these conferences have a long history, especially in the NIL era, of doing the thing, well, even pre-NIL era, that benefit them, and it brings me joy to see like the SEC saying, you know what, no, we're not doing this. And then these other conferences kind of in the Power Four saying, all right, when is enough? When is it still college football? And I mean, ever since the inception of the NIL era, there just has not been enough regulations because it all happens so fast. And you got kids like Carson Beck out here in their 10th year of college, playing quarterback for Miami. Not really. He was like a 7th year senior though, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like that's just insane.
Yeah. I got a group chat with a ton of former players that played in the 2000s and late 90s. And I mean, some of your favorite household names from Tech, and we joke and we're not hating, but we just joke about it. We had these opportunities when we played, like someone like myself who signed with the Ravens as a free agent. I mean, if I had 2 more years, first of all, Mike, head coach from Norfolk State, my cousin Mike and I talk about one of our biggest regrets was us not being able to play together. Because my last year was his redshirt year, and Al Clark was a starter, and then Dave Meyer backed him up. So just having that 1 year to be able to play against Florida State in the national championship game. Now, my ego is saying if I played, we win that. But then again, Tyrone Stiff and Ricky Hall got injured. But I'm just saying, like, to be able to play against Chris Winkie on the biggest stage in college football would have been crazy. But that's not how it was then. It is what it is. It's history. But these I just hope these kids, and maybe because I'm big on legacy, I just hope these young men, they're not kids, these young men and all these coaches who are manipulating the situation understand that what are you going to do when it's over? Because, as I mentioned, it was a transitional period for me where I went through a depression, and a lot of guys go through that, and also an adjustment. I mean, my wife is from Northern Virginia, DMV, where I've been living up here for 26 years. She laughed at me when we traveled, my first time being done with Virginia Tech, and we went to Dulles. And, when you're a D1 athlete, they do everything for you. And I remember I got out the truck or whatever, and I just dropped my bag. She was like, "The hell you doing?" I said, "Yo, somebody got to take that shit, right?" She was like, "No, we got to go check it in and all." I was like, "Oh, I won't." I'm used to everything being done. I'm like, "Oh, I'm in there." You know what I'm saying? I'm looking stupid in the face. So there's a level of transition a lot of these guys go through. I mean, and Grayson is spot on, man. Kiffin, he ain't the only one. There's a lot of these guys. He just, one thing about Kiffin, he gonna let you know, but there's some other guys because he had to learn it from somebody, right?
somebody had to tell him
in his orbit.
he is not smart enough to probably figure it out that they could have challenged it and like go to that judge, take more than just the kids I need, and it's all gonna work out.
What's the saying? Takes one to know one, right?
Yep.
That's what they say.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on because we literally could probably stay on this for 2 hours. Shelton, did you get the prompt, sir?
Yes, sir, I did. Let's talk about captains. We announced that over the weekend. New captains for 2026. We got George Balance, Tyson Flowers, Benji Gosnell, John Love, Ethan Grunkemeyer, and Caleb Spencer. Now, captains, I think over the past couple of years, I felt like we have not done the greatest job of managing that. Obviously, we saw last year our captain got in trouble for what I believe was a DUI, if I'm not mistaken, pretty early on. So that didn't turn out well. And I think overall, you probably would have liked to see more leadership from the captain group than we've seen the past couple of years. But I think we've got a pretty good group this year. So let's talk about that. I'll start with Grayson. Get your fan perspective on this year's captains, and obviously Dwight being a captain yourself. When you see that list of names, just what are your thoughts on them as players and as teammates?
Yeah, I want Dwight to go first here because he was a captain.
Oh, you sure? No, I'm sorry, Grayson. Go ahead.
No, man,
ahead, Grayson.
It's all you. I'm going first twice. I want Dwight to go.
I was voted a captain. I don't know how Franklin does it, but during my 5 years at Tech, you were voted a captain to start the season. That was a big honor. I remember we opened up home against East Carolina, and I was voted a captain that week, along with Derek Smith, my roommate. He played left tackle, got drafted by the Redskins, now Commanders. It was a big deal. And then the biggest accomplishment, I got a lot of awards and recognition from articles to a lot of stuff. But the biggest one I remember was being named a permanent captain. And I remember Coach Witten, who played at Tech in the late 80s, he came up to me and he was like, "I don't know if you know that's a major deal." And I was like, "Word?" He was like, "Yeah, when your teammates vote you as a captain, it's major." And the coaches vote too. I mean, again, I'm speaking on my era, but I think it's the kid I'm really high on out of that group is Caleb Spencer. Caleb Spencer was a phenomenal player last year, coming in for an injured Caleb Woodson. And he came in, and people don't realize, man, he transferred to Tech from Miami. he was a Miami Hurricane, and he came in and I thought he did some great things. I think he's one of, we'll talk about that position group later, but him being a captain is huge. I mean, I'm sure there's some other guys. I know we've talked about it in our group chat. You know, people don't realize leadership is one of those things I've been clamoring for since the Fuente era, since we lost Greg Stroman and Ricky Walker and the Edmonds brothers. I feel like when I look at Virginia Tech struggles, you could talk about depth and talent and things like that, but I really feel like leadership has been lacking. And I'm not taking shots at kids in that locker room, but that's not something Boundary Corner or David Till or Andy Bitter or Tech Sideline can really measure. You see it during the game. You see it on the field. You see it at practice. And it's not just your captains. It's everybody. But it's one of those things where you don't have to be a great player to be a leader or a captain. I was both, but at the same time, we had guys that were captains some weeks that were really hard workers. But the one thing that's universal then and now is you have your players and your teammates and coaches respect. And that, you know, I remember I was emotional when I got that because my when I was named the permanent captain, like when you Engelberger and Corey Moore and my teammates and all the guys, Shane Beamer, everybody were like, yo, Dwight Vick's our guy, along with Lauren Johnson and Derek Smith and a few other guys, Pearson Prelo. That's major. So, you know, I know now they carry out the flags and all that other stuff, man. I'm not sure how the fans feel about it, but it's a great honor. I just want to make sure that they lead this season. But, you know, congrats to those guys, especially shout out to my guy, Caleb Spencer. I'm expecting big, big things from him this year.
Well, first off, I mean, to hear that from a former captain is just a great perspective. I think we can all appreciate, especially someone from the prime Beamer years. And so, I mean, it's always cool to hear about that, like stories about Lauren Johnson and Derek Smith and stuff. I don't know if you guys saw on YouTube, they released a short video about choosing the captains this year, because I know they do the Set in Stone series, and shout out to the media team who have the way those episodes have been produced. That is not easy, and to anyone who had any piece in that, 10 out of 10 no notes. You know, we got George Balance, Tyson Flowers, Benji Gosnell, Ethan Grunkemeyer, John Love, and Caleb Spencer. Like Dwight said, I love this group. Coach Franklin said in that video, this is not a popularity contest. This is not, hey, I'm your buddy. This is who is going to push you to be the best, who is going to pick you up when you're down and you feel like you can't go anymore. That's who I want you to vote as captains. And I think that group of guys right there is probably the best we have in that regard. I mean, obviously, Gronk being the quarterback, you want him to be a leader. Gosnell, we know how he is. The Gosnell brothers in general, just he's a dog. He loves the game of football. He's not one of the guys to be like, oh, I'm not getting the ball enough. No, he doesn't care about that. He's a leader. And then, you know, Caleb Spencer, Tyson Flowers, a little bit more seasoned guys on the defense. And then it's obviously, you know, I don't know too much about George Balance, but John Love being a captain, listen, man, I'm all here for that. John Love he'll never buy another beer in Blacksburg, Virginia ever again. I mean, he's
absolutely
up there.
not.
Another great 17 Shane Graham as far as a field goal kicker or a place kicker is concerned. I mean, he is a gangster. So if you haven't seen that video, not just here in this immediate group, but if you're watching online, go check that out. It's on YouTube. And they're all meeting in Coach Franklin's office. Super, super cool.
Yeah, they did such a good job with that. And, I mean, you said it about John Love. He's definitely put himself easily on the Mount Rushmore of Hokie specialist of all time. I mean, it's
AOB.
Really hey.
That's a major statement you just said, because as you said that, I started thinking about Shane Graham and, I'm having a moment. But anyway, you get my point. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Joey
Yes,
slides in there.
Slide.
Vinny
Yeah,
Burns.
keep going. You can land your plane. I just was like, I got excited. I'm like, that's because you talking about.
I think he could
That's
cement it with a good year this year, but he's already in that conversation for Rushmore.
I'm in
for sure.
agreement. I'm in agreement with you. I'm just saying that's major.
And that's saying something, and he's still got some work left to do.
Yeah.
You know, and Dwight, you nailed the point earlier. You know, when we think about captains, like you love it when your captain is also a star player, but not every captain is going to be a star player. Some guys are just going to be guys that do the work, do it the right way, and know how to say and do the right things on the practice field and on game day that get the guys going in the right direction. And that's what being a captain is all about.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, because you know me, I like to start trouble a little bit. So I was messing with people like, man, what y'all think about Tyson Flowers being a captain? And he been getting burnt all off season. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just like to cause chaos. But honestly, man, like when I played ball, I was not the captain guy. Like, they was trying to push the role on me, and I was like, dude, I am not that. I hated going out before. Like, I had my routine. My mom sit on the opposite side. This is high school. My mom sit on the opposite side of the field, because when we redid our stadium, our visitor sideline or our visitor seats were like made out of rock, or you know what I'm saying? It was like stone. And then the new ones was like the new metal ones. She was like, I don't like sitting over there. These are wider, so I sit over there. So like when I came out and I warmed up and stuff, I had a routine. And I feel like when I didn't go through that routine, I was just like, the game sucked. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes there are some guys that are just not, they are the best player on the team. They're just not captain material, or they don't want to be that. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time I went out and did a coin toss and almost got kicked out of the game before the game started. Like, I'm talking crazy. As soon as I walk out there, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to shake your hand. You know, I'm just stuff you're not supposed to do that I see kids doing, and people are, I like stuff like that. I like when they don't want to shake hands. I like when they talking about their mama and stuff. But you can't do that as a team captain, right? That's not what, especially where we are. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm 40 years old, so it wasn't cameras out there like that when I was playing. But now it's a camera everywhere. So if you walk out there and say you ain't gonna shake somebody's hand, it's probably gonna cause some chaos. So in my mind, I was just thinking like, and this is no shade to him. I'm sure he's not that, but I'm just like, why wouldn't Kamari Copeland be a captain right there? Or why wouldn't Aiden Green or something? But I mean, we don't know. I mean, they're looking for certain stuff. And like Grayson said, when I went and watched that clip, you know, it was voted on by the players. And sometimes that's just, this guy shows up and does things how the coaches want it done. I don't even want to say the right way, because I'm not a right way kind of guy either. But you got to do it the way the coaches want, especially when you're building. So I think that that's why those guys are in that role that they're in. And I'm just hoping that it goes into the season where I see some of those guys either leading by example on the field or talking some guys up off the field when some things go awry. So, because you're going to hit adversity, right? Yep. And you want your captains to step up and be the voice of reason, kind of like I am for Dwight after the games, right?
Well, the voice of reason.
To that point, you know, you think about a famous interview of Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch, and he's talking to Deion Sanders, and he says, "You don't like all the noise, do you?" He goes, "I'm just about that action, boss." And he's just, there are some players, that's how they are. Yep. They're not there to, you know, lead. They're going to put that helmet on. They're going to go to work, and that's what they want to do. And I think, we saw that comment that just came up. Let's talk about who isn't the captain. I think Aiden Green probably sticks out to a lot of people, but to me, Aiden Green is the kind of guy who's like, I'm not on any of that. I'm out here trying to score touchdowns. And maybe the Hulk is the same way. He's like, I'm not on any of that. I don't want to carry the flags out. I want to sack the quarterback. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. And it's what you said, Tally. Routine is what you want. Because, Dwight, you sat in a room with a lot of guys. I was looking back through some of the captains, and some names aren't there. Go back and look. in the last 30 years of Virginia Tech, there are some names that are not captains. And it's to your point, Tally, maybe it's what they like to do before the game, and that's not part of their routine. And it's who you are personality-wise. If you are not personality-wise driven to be a leader, you shouldn't be the leader. You should not be the captain, because who knows? You might be the guy that goes and hits somebody in the face. And that's, as Callie just said, that's not captain material. You can't punch people in the face because you are looked at as the leader. Are we all supposed to punch each other in the faces when somebody screws up an assignment? No, we're not supposed to do that.
Well, you're right. And you're right, Curtis. So I would just add too, no matter what level of football you play on, or even if you play other sports, but especially a violent sport like football, there's roles and characters on the team. Like, you got your goons, you got guys that are about that action, that are like, yo, just tell me what time we play and I'll be there. Like, you look at the X-Men. Wolverine ain't gonna be your captain, your leader. He's there, Wolverine's there to slice you up. You know what I'm saying? We're there to calm him down. So, like, at the end of the day, you look at some of the guys that were captains with me, I'm not surprised they're doing what they're doing. You look at Lauren Johnson, 5-time state championship coach, probably have a chance to get a 6th one this year. One of the best leaders in VHSL history. Derek Smith, a guy drafted by the Redskins, as I mentioned earlier. He's the O-line coach at Freedom South Riding here in Loudoun County in Northern Virginia, where I'm at. Pearson Prelo, Greg Williams, the former NFL defensive coordinator, said Pearson Prelo is the smartest coach I've ever coached. And he also was a great coach here, a great player. He's coaching now, I think, in Colorado. I mean, it's not accident, because a captain has to kind of know when, they don't miss a rep. They don't miss a sprint. They also can relate to everybody. I was one of those guys, you put me with anybody in the group, whether it was the walk-ons or the goons or the more polished people, whatever, and I can adjust and adapt. And their word really permeates throughout the locker room. Like, when I look back at the men I helped lead, I was very proud of that. Guys like Chad Beasley and John Engelberger and Corey Moore and, all the guys that play with Matt Laird, David Cadella, Ben Taylor, Jamel Smith, Mike Hawks, Anthony Midget, and it continues out in my life now. I mean, I spoke at Rania Whitaker's funeral a few years ago when Fuente was there. I was the moderator for over 200 and 300 football alumni. I was chosen. That's a great honor I carry, but everyone's not able to do that, because it's not about being able to speak well. You just have to have a skill set. And some guys, it's okay. Like, whether you talk about in corporate America, we need some people to have a different role versus some people being the face of the program or the spokesperson. Because everybody, when they know their role, it works like a well-oiled machine. And I think some of these guys that I don't know all of them personally, but when I look at guys like I mentioned earlier, Caleb, guys now, I feel like they got it right. And I feel like, to me, it feels good having guys I feel like are leaders versus in some other seasons, I felt like they were planted. I feel like these guys really stand on business. And again, we'll know, as I think Tally or Brian said, we'll know when we go on the road, whether it's at Maryland or BC or wherever against Pitt, and you'll watch the body language, you'll watch them on the sideline. One of my favorite leaders, and he never really said much, was a kid named Cody Grimm. Cody Grimm was a great leader. I mean, and he didn't do a lot of talking. He talked with his pads. He made game-winning plays. Tyrod Taylor was a phenomenal leader. Those guys followed him. When Virginia Tech was 0-2 after losing to Boise State and JMU, he led a players-only meeting, and they galvanized the season. And they went on and won 10 straight, including the ACC Conference Championship. And there's other guys like that. And that's what leadership is. And final point, everyone's not meant to be a leader. That's kind of what you guys have been saying. Some guys are just going to go out there and play, and that's fine. Like, I hate, and I've been on some teams. It's one of those things when you can tell when somebody is not meant or should not do a pregame speech or talk, because it throws the whole mood off. It's just like, come on, guys.
I've been there.
He was like, hey, shut your ass.
It's always fun. It's funny when, like, that one person, like, just steps up out of nowhere and says, and you're like, what were you trying to do there? What were you even trying to do?
What were you trying to accomplish?
Like, whatever you were trying for, the opposite happened.
We know, right. Well, moving on to the next point, we are definitely wanting the offensive line. We know what we want them to accomplish. James Franklin kept Matt Moore on, so we wouldn't have 3 coaches in 3 years for the offensive line. I guess I'll start with Dwight on this just because he played offensive line. What's your confidence that they improved that room this year compared to last year?
I didn't get a chance. Did we do a spring game? I don't even remember. I'm getting old. I didn't get a chance. I probably had a former player or fan record. I made it to like 17 straight spring games after I was done. I loved it. It was a reunion. It was good to see the new guys, new faces, the new generation, so to speak. I've been on the O-line group for a long time now, since, Darius Shaw and those guys left. I feel like we spent too much time talking about drones and what he made in NIL and the receivers, when anyone that knows the game, you have to have the LOS, which is a line of scrimmage. The offensive, defensive line have to set the tone for your football program. If you look at all the teams that made the college football playoff last year, it starts up front. When Miami came in the Lane Stadium last year, I was texting Tally and those guys. I said, look at their right and left tackles. They look like transformers. And I'm like, they just looked like it was a difference. And they were mean and they were nasty. My issue with Virginia Tech is this, Tally, and the rest of you guys. In previous seasons, an offensive line has to be competent. We have BU know this, Brian. We have to act on one accord. Even if I'm locking my man up, I've seen this when I used to watch tape. I'm locking my man up, and I turn around like, what happened? Or like me and Derek, we pass off a stunt, a twist, and we got it locked in, but the rest of the line, they missed a weak side blitz, right? And then we have to be on one accord. And it was too much. Drone can't read defenses. He can't make the throw. I'm like, did you see the pressure? I'm going to tell you when it was really bad for me last year. ODU, and they had a kid named Trinidad who was really good. ODU came in the Lane Stadium and set the tone and pushed our offensive line around. It was embarrassing. And everybody kept saying, but drones. I'm like, look at the O-line. And I'm telling you, we get fixated on quarterbacks. So to kind of finish my point and let Grayson cook some, I feel better because they've gotten some depth. They look the part right now. They're passing the eye test. I'm not going to measure them against VMI. I expect them to maul VMI. I want to see how they handle ODU in Maryland and Boston College to start the season. And if they do well there, the biggest litmus test in the early part of the season will be a nasty Pitt defense that will be better than what we expect, because Pitt brings the fight to you. And I just want to see our O-line fight. There were times I would see, drones or our running backs get pushed to the ground and the O-line would just stand there. I'm like, listen, man, y'all got to take this personal. But from a schematic situation, we really a lot of times wet the bed when it came to blitz pickup, moving the pocket, getting to the second level. A lot of times we would have false steps, which means, if you're going a certain way, you take the right step, the right angle, you step down and block inside. If the linebacker's coming in, the biggest egregious error we saw in recent years was at Miami when Pry called the fake field goal and the tackle went here and the guy right through the middle. And I'm yelling at the screen. He didn't block down. You learned that in 4th grade. You block down. And I'm like, but again, everybody's like, oh, we got an O-line coach. We don't, because if he's not doing that, they're not being taught. So to me, I want to see how they're being taught. I want to see how well, they can really move the pocket and set the tone of the line of scrimmage and pick up blitzes. Like, we had a period at Tech when I was there every week. We went over blitz pickup for 30 minutes. And it's important because there were times, going back to when Bowen was the OC. I remember I used to sometimes live tweet. I didn't always do it, but sometimes I would. And I would say, that's actually a good play. And fans would get in my mentions. What game are you watching, Vic? I can't. I'm like, no, listen to me. Look at the backside guard and tackle. They didn't. But again, I know I'm talking, trigonometry to some of y'all, but that's what I'm talking about. So I feel more confident because I feel like, and this is going to sound really simplistic, I feel like Franklin's going to demand more of his coaches. I think, I think it starts with him. I think he's going to demand more. And I think the O-line, from what I've seen and what I've heard, because I got some friends on the staff, they are going to be better this year. And sometimes as Tech fans, it was fool's gold, because if you have a guy that's a mobile quarterback, or if you have a running back like Tootin that can make guys miss, it may seem like the blocking is better than what it is. So, again, I'm hopeful, but I do feel like we're in a better situation depth-wise. And I know the O-line coach is now in his second year, right?
Yep.
So we'll see. But I feel better, Tally. I feel better about it. But I'm a show me guy. So we'll see. VMI, we should be able to move them around. But then when we get into like ODU, that'll be a bigger test for them, not me. I'm done.
Well, I mean, I agree with all of that. And it's funny, the VMI game, we have the second largest point spread that weekend behind Ohio State and whoever they play. I think it's like 50.5 points.
Yeah, 50.5.
I mean, but also when you're dealing with the military institute, their defensive linemen probably don't exceed 250 pounds. I mean, they're 5'11" and 215 pounds like I am. It's what like Dwight said, we'll be able to move them around. Love what Dwight said about depth. That's the key takeaway this offseason, gentlemen. I mean, we added 4 transfers in the offseason, signed 7 offensive linemen in the 2026 recruiting cycle, that's huge. This metric is kind of surprising to me. We last year had 184.2 rushing yards per game, which was actually 4th in the ACC. It would be my sincere hope that we could take that up a notch or two this season.
Yep.
I look at guys like Justin Terry, just size. The guy transferred from Ohio State. He's 6'5", 331 pounds. That's insane. Like, I feel like we have the biggest offensive lineman that we've had at Virginia Tech in how many years? Like, average weight per offensive lineman. Shelton, he could probably run the numbers.
I think we're in the top 10 for average offensive linemen, and we're in the top 2 or 3 for overall average across all positions.
Yeah, it's like that's an insane metric, and I couldn't tell you like the last time that's been the case. I mean, like I think back to when Dwight was playing. The guys like Dave Cadella and Dwight Vick. Like you had bullies up there, man. And then in recent years, we see clips of, and I don't mean to do this, Kyron Drones, God bless him, love him, but taking that safety and hucking the ball out of the back of the end zone, because the pocket collapses. And I'm like, he can't do anything if these guys
Hey, Grayson, let me just chime in really quickly.
Yeah.
And even though that was a horrible play, somebody posted the other day, I told this to my boundary corner bros in our chat. I said, that is egregious, but I said it throughout the season. He doesn't trust his offensive line. He did not trust it. Quarterbacks have to trust their O-line. They know how much time they have. But anyway, you keep cooking. I just wanted to chime in.
Well, no, and that's ultimately so true. I think it's easy as a guy sitting on his couch eating pizza and be like, I could have made that throw, Drones, but I couldn't have. It's because I wouldn't have trusted that offensive line. No disrespect to those gentlemen. I love you. You're Hokies. You're my boys. You're my friends. I love you. But just our offensive line, especially throughout Brent Pry's tenure as head coach, left a lot to be desired. It was just very inconsistent. I mean, last year, 4th in the ACC, that's not bad for rush offense. per game. But just I'm thrilled to bring this together, to put a bow on this. It's the size I'm excited about and the depth. Like Dwight said, I mean, we haven't had depth like this in a long time.
What I hear is by default there is some confidence. It may not be Matt Moore,
sure,
but maybe James Franklin walking in the door, bringing guys with him.
It's the pieces. Yeah,
it's the pieces. The other thing is Matt Moore is, to me, you don't get multiple guys in the NFL being a shitty offensive line coach. You can't. Like, not the guys he got put in, because the guys he got put in were not all, other than Wyatt Mile, were not 5-star guys. They were 3 stars. They were lower guys. So I think Franklin basically said, you were in a screwed up situation last year. I'm going to give you a little bit of talent. You have to make something. Because I do believe this, before I'll kick it to Brian, what he's got to talk about next. I think if they look bad, Matt Moore's not going to be the offensive line coach after this season. So Brian.
It's definitely a make or break year for him, just because he is a holdover. But at the same time, to Tally's point earlier, like, we were in a situation where we would have been on our 4th or 5th offensive line coach in like 5 or 6 years. It's like, at some point you got to have some consistency at that position, because in a lot of ways, that position, having consistency from a coaching standpoint, is as important as anything else you do on the offensive side of the ball.
True.
But Dwight, you already mentioned depth a little bit. When we looked at last year, that was a big problem. We were one at the start of the season. We were one play away from redshirt freshman Aiden Lynch jumping in the game and being the guy that has to hold down right tackle. It was a problematic situation. Definitely done a lot to address it this offseason. Bringing in Terry, you got Howland in there. You got Cunningham seems to be kind of easing his way back as well, to full complement there. Johnny Garrett nicked up though, so we don't know how long we're going to be without him this season. How do you think this group is going to hold up with that 3-man combo of Terry, Cunningham, and Howland? And do you think we'll see some of those true freshmen that have been brought in under Franklin get any extended playing time this year? And I'll let Grayson lead this one off.
To be honest, Brian, I this one's tough. I don't really know, because this is year one of Coach Franklin. I imagine, he's gonna put the guys out there who, from what he's seen in practice, put us in the best position to win. And I mean, young guys can come in and make an immediate impact, especially on the offensive line. I think one of my favorite games I ever watched, even though it was a loss, from an offensive lineman, was Jay Glock. I don't know if y'all remember when he started as a freshman at left tackle against Alabama. And that
first time that happened under Beamer.
First time that had ever happened under Beamer, and Jay Glock went out there and started and held his own against guys like Reuben Foster.
You stole my answer, Grayson. I was going to reference him, but keep going.
I'm sorry, I swear this was not intentional.
No, it's all good.
But I mean, he was a problem in that game. And, I imagine we will see a healthy rotation on the offensive line this year. But I guess my point is, Coach Franklin is going to ultimately, at the end of the day, put those guys out there who he thinks put us in the best chance to win the football game. And whatever that looks like. So, and as time goes on, people are going to get injured. That's going to happen as the season goes on. So you have to anticipate that. So it's not always going to look the same every week.
There we go. Dwight, what you got on this one?
He took my Jay Glock comparison. But I will also say, too, a trend I've seen with the portal and also with more young men coming into D1 level college football is that compared to my era, they're more physically ready to play than back in the day. I think with the training regimen and what you see now with a lot of old linemen, I think I've always felt it's one of the toughest positions to recruit. because if your district or your conference in high school isn't good, then how good are you, right? I've seen guys rated high 3 or high 4 stars, and they get to whether it's the Big Ten or even the MEAC, an HBCU type deal, they're not ready to play. But that's because they were probably overrated. One thing I've been big on that I really want to see is how athletic our offensive line are going to be in space. I think the misconception from a lot of fans is, size definitely matters, Grayson spot on, but also can you get to the second level and combo block from the interior to the Mike linebacker? Can you pick up that Will? That's a very athletic linebacker who probably is also like a safety. Can you pick him up coming off the edge? The rotation is the rotation. I think the biggest thing I've seen and felt when I've been around this program here recently with Franklin is that there's more accountability on the coaches. I felt like there were, in the recent seasons, they were just going out there and the message to the fans was, we're going to just do this because we don't have any depth. And you were like, I kept screaming in the Twitter spaces after the wins and losses on Tally's platform was to play the younger guys. I kept saying, why do you sign these guys and you're not playing them? Like, especially when you're up in a few games. And it wasn't a lot of times we were up, but in some of the games we had maybe a 2-touchdown lead. The one thing we did back when I played, even when I was a redshirt freshman, is if we were up maybe, let's say 17-3, I got in for a couple of series just to get my feet wet. And that's another thing you can do to kind of scheme and prepare for the unforeseen injury. You got to get some guys in. Jonathan McLaughlin ended up being a legendary tackle for Virginia Tech. You don't just get those, but at the same time, Dwayne Brown, who's one of the best offensive linemen in Virginia Tech history, was converted from tight end to tackle. Now, we haven't done a lot of that here in the modern era, but he was an athletic lineman that used to be a tight end. So one thing I know that's answering a different question, but it's also tied into what I'd like to see this year is more athletic offensive linemen being able to get out in space. Just think back to last year, and it happens at every team and every game, but I always felt and held my breath when there was a big play because I'm like, okay, who was a legal man downfield? Who got called for holding? Because it was always the IQ piece, right? And that's the accountability I feel that's here now versus before. I saw the video you guys were talking about. I was late to the party when Franklin, they had the YouTube show, and he stopped it because the guys were fighting. And he said, you guys are being tough guys. And he was calling them out. He said, but you're not really tough guys. I'm paraphrasing, because you're not doing it in between the whistle. You're doing it after the fact. And I love that because too many times I felt like Virginia Tech in recent years was a team full of sugar thugs. They were sweet. They were just, it was a lot of, because sugar thugs, it's a lot of talk on Twitter. It's a lot of chatter. You guys keep talking about what y'all going to do. You know what I'm saying? But ain't nothing going to happen. One of the best examples of that was Fuente's last couple of years when we played Kentucky. And, we had a player get punched in the face before the game. Listen, that game would have been canceled during my era. You would have whipped his ass. We would have been fighting. I'm telling you, man.
He would have not sold the field.
Yeah, and we would have, man, it would have been a fight. It would have been like, go to commercial, Jim, go to commercial. It would have been over. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, I'm rambling, B. I'm rambling, but you get my point. Like, the rotation aside, another thing, one last point. You got a scheme too, right? I hope this year it feels like you're going to see a lot of 21 personnel, more under center, some different plays. I thought, what's the OC that was here during Fuente's era?
Brad
Cornelson.
Brad Cornelson, to his credit, did a really good job scheming with the personnel groups he had. There was a lot of eye candy, a lot of misdirection, and I feel like you have to adjust to your personnel. We talked about that when we realized, and a lot of us realized before the OC did, that Drones was not a pocket passer. He was more of an RPO. I felt last year, the interim coach that was the OC that took over when Pride got fired, he never adjusted his scheme not only to Drones, but to his offensive line. You out there going pass happy. You got Dawkins and the other running backs run the ball. The only time he did that, NC State game on the road. He played to his personnel strength. That's scheming. Part of helping your offensive line out is also scheming to their strengths. Some guys are not, Brian, you know this just like I do. Some guys are not good in pass pro. They can't block an ice cream cone. So basically, let's do some runs, some misdirections, running away from that side. That's scheming. That's coaching. So that you got to help those guys out too.
Hand up. Pass pro was not my favorite thing. I'm gonna drive you off the ball. I'm gonna get to the second level, but these short arms are gonna struggle in pass pro, man. I'm just gonna let you know.
But that man loved the screen.
Hey, let me get out there and move a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
We're good. I'm just saying, you got to play like you're saying, Dwight. You got to play to the strengths. I think one of the other, we brought Brad Cornelson up here. The scheme was never the problem with Brad. It was the situational play calling that was the problem with Brad. Situational play call, just throw it in the trash. But I mean, to your point, when you look at what we're doing from a depth perspective and kind of where things are going, I think you were right in that we haven't done a good job of playing to the strengths of the personnel and offense. Even before Monty last year, I think there were times where under Tebow we tried to make Drone something he wasn't.
Can't do that.
I think we when you have only 2 reliable tackles on your whole team and one's injured, and you're still calling dropbacks the rest of the year with a quarterback that, despite the offensive line, was already having some game time decision making problems. You exacerbate that with an offensive line that struggles in pass pro, especially at the tackle position. It was a recipe for disaster. I think when we look at what's going to be different about this offensive line, I just think that if it's a scheme thing, they're going to put them in the best position that they can. And when it's more of this guy's just not getting it done, I think there's going to be the accountability to, once you've seen it enough, you got to get somebody else in there and see what they can do, because it's only going to be so long before you can take mediocre or worse play before you got to try something different.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we certainly know that one thing that can make an O-line look better is good running backs, and we've had some of that these past couple of years. Despite the struggles on the O-line last year, our 3 tailbacks in 2025 averaged 6 yards per carry. Now we've got Jeffrey Overton and Marcellus Hawkins returning for this year. And obviously hoping that we can get the running back room like Hokie running back rooms of old. So I'll start with Grayson on this one, then go to Dwight. Do you kind of see this being like a 1A, 1B type of situation with Overton and Hawkins, or do you think that one of those guys can kind of become the workhorse and be the number one?
I think it is going to be a 1A, 1B type of system there. I mean, they're both so good, but they're both very different running backs. Honestly, I don't hate to make this comparison because it's an honor to make this comparison. This tandem, I would say in recent years, is the closest thing we have probably seen to Ryan Williams and Darren Evans. I don't know if that's out of pocket to say, but that makes me excited for a lot of reasons. I look at Marcellus Hawkins as more the Darren Evans type. He's shifty in space. He's quick, but he'll run your ass over. Make no mistake. And then you got Jeff Overton, who, he'll make you miss, and he's fast, and he's explosive the way Rue was. Obviously, running backs, you got to keep them both healthy. That's going to be really, really important. And that's not to say, that Bill Davis won't get reps. He has 763 rushing yards while he was at Louisiana and had 6 touchdowns. Not bad statistics there. Do I think we're going to see like Messiah Mickens? No. That's just me being honest. When you have Overton and Hawkins, who are two seasoned backs. Like, I don't think Franklin's the type to – I mean, he didn't do it with Devin Ford at Penn State. Should have come to Tech, kid, but I digress, whatever. Should have come to VT.
Hey, now, Grayson, I will say, again, it's all preseason stuff, but apparently Bill Davis has been hurt or been banged up. So I think
okay.
Franklin came out and said – I think Franklin came out and said that Tyler Mason and Mickens was kind of battling for that 3 spot right now.
Is that right? All right, so maybe we will see. Maybe we will see Mickens.
I think we might see Mickens on special teams if we don't see him anywhere else.
That's completely fair. And who was it? We had a younger back out there on the kick return team who probably shouldn't have been out there from an injury perspective a couple of years ago. The name is escaping me, but I digress. Bottom line is, I think Shelton, yes, it will be a 1A, 1B type of offense with those two, and I'm stoked. I hope it's like Evans and Williams, very much so.
Yeah.
Dwight, I want to hear Dwight's opinion on this.
So I've known Jeff. You guys know this. I know, Brian, you and I do Big Dog Sports Talk. I go on Thursday morning. You go on early in the week. And I saw the segment when you guys were talking, and Jeffrey Overton Jr. is on deck to be one of my biggest "I told you so"s. I told people about Greg Stroman. I told people about Mike Vick. I told people about Eddie Royal, and they all proved me. I told people about Ryan Williams. He went to my wife's high school here where I live in Northern Virginia. He went to Stonewall Jackson. Jeffrey Overton Jr. is elite. And he was Gatorade Player of the Year, I think, back-to-back years in Virginia for a reason. We didn't really get to see the best of him because of that situation at Hayfield High School up here in Alexandria. They didn't go to the playoffs that year, but he's one of the most dynamic running backs I've seen. And you think about Virginia Tech, you throw in Khalil Herbert and Tootin and Ken Oxendine, Dwayne Thomas. We've had a lot of tandems, Darren Evans, Ryan Williams, David Wilson. I even wrote some down, Cedric Humes and Mike Emo. They were huge. Lee Suggs and Kevin Jones might be the best of all time. Right, the Untouchables. So when I think of Jeffrey Overton Jr., I think of big pencil energy. Big pencil energy. I'm talking about that big. You can laugh. You guys can laugh. Feel free.
I love it.
Big pencil energy is meaning big play capability. And he is a dog. I coached against him. I'm holding on to some nostalgia because I saw him. I know his dad. I know his uncle. They're coaching at the great St. James up here in Northern Virginia, up in Springfield, Alexandria area. And I like Hawkins a lot. And I think when you look at the state of college football now and the way running backs are used, you can't just have – this isn't the days of John Riggins. You just can't have one guy getting all the carries. We saw that one game. I was pissed off when we played Georgia Tech without their star quarterback. And I kept tweeting, we got to have another guy like Pearson Prelow's son get more touches because we're using Tootin too much. And what do? We're up 21-6 or 21-9, and Tootin stays in the game. We already have the game won, and he gets hurt. So to me, as much as I love Jeffrey Overton Jr., as the kids say, I'm glazing him or whatever, the truth of the matter is that Hawkins has to be there, and he's not going to just be a contributor. As I mentioned some of the names of the past, having those tandems and having even 3 backs is crucial. The ACC may not be viewed as the Big Ten or the SEC, but it's still a damn Power 4 conference. And when you're playing SMU, you're playing UVA, and you're playing Miami, down the stretch, when you start bringing out those black bubble coats, those maroon and orange hoodies and black, you're going to need some depth. You're going to need somebody that can run the ball on short yardage as well as milk the clock when you're on the road. If Virginia Tech's up on SMU in the fourth quarter, 27-24, and you're on the plus side of the field, you're going to need to get some runs. And it can't just be Jeff Overton right, Jeff Overton left. You got to know how to use that. And the great thing about this is, that's what I mean about scheming for your offensive line. Those guys, if scheme right, will help the offensive line look good and the running backs. And you can also use that to transition over to your play action game. out of 21 and 22 personnel. So again, these are the things that I think big picture will bode well for us. And as much as we love Khalil Herbert, he was a great pickup, and Tootin was amazing. Both became legendary backs for Virginia Tech. I felt like sometimes it was too much put on both those guys. And that's why I mentioned scheme as far as the OC, because you can have a real nice Cadillac. You can even have a nice woman on your arm. But eventually, you got to try some new positions.
Big pencil energy.
There we go. There we go.
Oh my God!
I will
flip some of these, please.
Dwight bringing the thunder.
All right.
No, I
so,
will say just
Clip it.
I will say just going in with what these guys kind of said. For me, I mean, you always go into a season thinking, kind of a 1A, 1B, but to what Dwight said, somebody is going to be the guy. Somebody's going to say. I mean, if you go back and look at Virginia Tech for the last 5 years, no matter how good or bad we've been, we were probably thinking it's going to be this guy and this guy, or it's going to be this guy back, and it's always somebody who steps up and just takes the show. That's how that's what a good football team does. Now you got to have some backups, but I'm hoping. Just my hope is that one of those guys, whether it's Jeff Overton or Hawkins, steps up. I mean, we need 1,000 yard. We need a 1,000-yard rusher this year. Like that's what we need. So I'd like to see one of those guys be able to step up and do that. I don't know exactly who it'll be. I know Hawkins had 750 last year, something like that. But if you look at the carries he had compared to the carries that Jeff had, I mean, Jeff only had 25 carries. So. I'm excited about that running back room. I think it's going to be a little bit different than what we have kind of seen, because another thing in the last couple of years is our quarterback had a lot of carries. Sure. Even going back to Hooker, going back to Drones, going back to Burmeister, all of those quarterbacks took a lot of carries from running backs. I don't think we see that this year. That's not the kind of quarterback that Bronkemeyer is. Mm-hmm. So who, even more than those two, where do those carries go? Because I think Kyron had like 170 carries.
Yeah, he led the team in attempts last year. He led the team.
So where do those carries go? Right, and it's like Dwight said, you got to be building some depth. Where do those carries go? With that, and I think Curtis was going to jump in here and say something.
Well, I want to jump in. You mentioned Bill Davis. He did come over. I don't know if he said he was injured. He just said Tyler Mason and Messiah Mickens are battling. Now, I don't know what they're battling for. Hell, Dwight, you've sat through it all. We've all sat through it all. They're battling. They battling for second backup gunner on the kickoff return team, or they battling for carries. But what I want to say is, and kind of ask y'all, because you just mentioned it a few minutes ago, Dwight, concerning your son. You got 5 years to play. And, yes, I think Overton and I think Hawkins are going to get a lot of carries. I think Bill Davis is healthy. He's going to get a lot of carries. But why are you going to waste Messiah Mickens on the sideline? The kid's 5'10". He's 205 pounds. He's already built like a D1 running back. What you said, Dwight, we're up 21-0 in a game. Let the kid go out there and run. Do you think we're going to see, not only for this room, not only for the running back room, but maybe just for the entire team, there's going to be some freshmen like at some point, just go play. Like, there ain't no redshirt rules anymore. We ain't got to worry about burning it. Just go play.
Maybe
that's a great point. That's a great point, Curtis.
Yeah.
Maybe versus
VMI when we're up by 40. Yeah. Like, why not? I don't hate that take at all.
Yeah.
But Curtis, yeah. What you're describing though is spot on, because I think, again, this goes back to my biggest gripe over the last several years, not just with Tech, but I'm a Hokie, is personnel groupings and using your personnel. Like, I remember my dog Wyatt Teller. I kept saying, why are y'all waiting so long to put him on the field? And I went to a game. I talked to some of the guys on the staff. They were like, well, the guy ahead of him is a senior. I'm like, Wyatt Teller, the moment he goes in, he mauls people. What are we doing? Like, get him on the field. And I think Franklin, I've never played for him, but just from what I'm seeing, to your point, Curtis, you got it. This guy's making this much in this NIL, or he's been here. That loyalty shit, that does not win. That's not one. I've never been an Alabama fan, but I respect greatness. And to this day, I became a big Jalen Hurts fan. I'm not an Eagles fan. I like Jalen Hurts because he was humbled and humiliated on national TV when they put Tua in. And he supported Tua. And that was a big gamble by Saban by putting Tua in. But Georgia was taking their pumpkin on national TV. Same thing happened when Miami came in the Lane Stadium with a 39-40 game regular season winning streak. They had won a national championship a couple of years at a time, and Virginia Tech beat them 31-7. Well, people don't remember, but Brian Randall, who the following year was named ACC Player of the Year in 2004, but in 2003, he was benched on national TV for my cousin Marcus. Marcus came in. Kevin Jones played great. Marcus threw the one touchdown pass when Ernest Wilford beat Sean Taylor, and Beamer had the courage to put Marcus in, and Brian Randall was a veteran. And, of course, shout out to Brian Randall, like Jalen Hurts. He came back and redefined himself and got ACC Player of the Year. But that's called accountability. That's all. And Curtis, you're spot on about the personnel, man.
Just play them. There's going to be opportunities all throughout the season. Let the red shirts, let the young guys play. Like, trust them, because for so many years, like you said, and we mentioned it on here, last season being 3-7, and it's just like, why aren't you playing young guys? Some of these guys haven't played but 1 or 2 games. Like, you can't burn a red shirt. Why don't you just play them? And I think it's what I think a lot of people, and you guys who have played a lot, and us who listen to y'all stories, it's like coaches are some of the most untrusting people in the entire world. They don't trust. You got to do a hell of a lot to get a coach to trust you, to put you in a position to do things. And I think we're in an era now you can't anymore. You've got to almost take gambles to say, you know what? I'm looking through the list here. We're up 28-14. You know what? Roseby has been playing real good in practice. Screw it. I'm going to put him over at right tackle. I'm going to see what he does. He's a big old boy who can play tackle. Why not? Sorry. All right, Tally.
That was me versus UVA last year when we were getting our tail end kicked at Scott Stadium. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't mind seeing Pop Watson.
Why not?
I wouldn't mind seeing it. What? If I'm the head coach at that point, and I know, Dwight might say Grayson the offensive line. I understand that. I can appreciate that. But, like, at that point when we're getting dog walked by our rival.
Hold on. Grayson, hold on.
All right.
Don't get it twisted. I'm not taking accountability off drones. I was calling for Pop. First of all, I was so pissed at those coaches at Tech, the UVA. I told everybody that was a silent protest because I felt like Monty was mad because he was promised he was going to get an interview, and they had already hired Franklin, and he just went there to basically say, UVA, you have it. He basically did the whole thing when the bull and the rope. He just said, y'all go. Because there's no way in a game, they didn't even make UVA earn it. The defense played well, but they basically offensively did nothing. They were in jeopardy of that game of going scoreless. And you know what's funny about that? UVA really didn't even destroy Tech like they could have. And that's why I was like, damn, UVA, because we didn't do nothing innovative on offense. And that's why I'm not where Whit Babcock was at that time, because of the AD. I would have came down them steps like Jerry Jones. And I would have taken the headset, and I was like, get your bitch. I would have been, hey, Pop, warm up. I promise you. Listen, you cannot play this. This is Virginia Tech football. This matters too much. I'm up in Nova, and there are people, when I'm on 66 and 495 in D.C., Maryland, there are people with flags and people hanging off the truck. Hokie! You can't play with this. And even as bad as we were to Curtis and Brian, I watched everything they do. Tech fans still went to Charlottesville, knowing Charlottesville UVA was the better team, and they still showed up. So you're right, Grayson. Not only should you have saw Pop get some action, You didn't see anything innovative on offense. There was not one fake field goal, fake punt. There was nothing. That's why I said to this day, it's going to come out. It may not come out in a 30 for 30 documentary, but somebody going to come out and say, yeah, man, the coaches when they're talking about, hey, for where you going? You know, they had already cleaned out their lot. You could tell they had already quit. You could tell on the sideline they didn't give a damn. They lucky I won't there. I promise you. I'm a piece of
I didn't want to disrespect Kyron Drones. You know, I love Kyron Drones, but
Drones
in
is
that
my
game,
God. No. Drones, respectfully. I said this before in Tally's Twitter space. I said this when I played. I said this on my tweets. Tyrod Taylor got benched against Duke for Sean Glennon. It was a home game, and Sean Glennon came in. I just talked about how Brian Randall got benched for Marcus Vick, who was not a polished quarterback at the time. He had a lot of ceiling because he was great. I've gotten everybody I know in Virginia Tech. Some of the greatest household names have been benched or taken out of a game, and that's the price. That's the part where I felt like Pride wasn't really understanding that the NIL does not mean you guaranteed to play. Accountability now with Franklin seems to permeate throughout this locker room because you can see guys in their effort. They're really working hard because he does not care. He also came in, and some of these salaries that these kids were making have been reduced, and it should have been. Guys getting that much money ain't even touched the field. In your room eating Pringles and playing 2K, you getting all this money. You ain't made a damn play in 2 years. The hell you doing? You driving around Hellcats? Again, this, and I'm not hating on the money. I'm good up here in Nova. I'm talking about accountability. That's why, look, let me say this real quick. I'm about to cook real quick, Curtis. I know we got an agenda. I'm gonna shut up after this. Here's the thing. I don't care how much money they make. I'm glad they're making money. I'm glad cars are being shipped into Blacksburg and you're riding around downtown and it's looking like a Master P party. I'm glad it looks like. I'm glad y'all are stunting on them. At the end of the day, what I would like to see is accountability where none of these guys in Blacksburg right now, despite the talent and the depth they have in certain positions, have won anything. They've never played for a conference championship. Some of them have never beaten UVA. Some of them, many of them, can't say they had a game over 500. So to me, everybody's on notice. When I came to the Bird, I saw how to win when I saw Maury Shishazo, Jim Druckenmiller, J.C. Price, Chris Malone, Jim Pine, Bill Conity. I saw those guys. So then when it was my time up, I knew how to win. We knew how to win. And then that's why you have the culture. That's all Franklin's doing. Because ask yourself right now, to everybody watching, do we trust Virginia Tech football right now, or do we trust James Franklin? That's what you got to think about. We trust James Franklin. We don't trust this team yet. Now, hopefully after the first 4 games we do. So I'm sorry, Curtis. I just had to say that. Blame Grayson. He got me going.
Hey, listen, that's very prolific what you just said about the team versus Franklin. That's very true.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
That got right down to it right now. I think
that hit.
The way everyone feels is like they trust what's going on with Franklin. We got to see what the team can do once they get on the field.
Sure.
Well, yeah. So talking about another, going to another group, talking about what they do on the field. Gonna go to the linebacker group now. I mean, depth isn't bad, but it isn't great. We know we got some kids that can play. Williams is hurt, so that's kind of messes up the flexibility a little bit. But it says they moved Koval to linebacker from safety. How do you feel about the depth in the linebacker room?
Dwight, you want to talk about your guy Caleb?
Yeah, I was going to say last year, I felt like, I was big. I remember when Boundary Corner, you guys did your show a handful of years ago, and being up here in Northern Virginia, Prince William County, I was really excited when we signed Caleb Woodson. I shout out Brent Pry. I know he didn't get it done as a head coach, but he did a great job mending relationships and making sure that we got back into the Virginia high school, public and private schools, rebuilding those relationships that were damaged by Fuente and his staff. And Caleb Woodson was great for us, but then we had the, off the field situation. Then he had the injury, and he really rushed to get back. It gave an opportunity for Caleb Woodson to get in there, and I really liked the way he came in and played. I think we're gonna, again, I said it earlier, but I'm really excited about him this year because, when you're at that linebacker spot and the kind of defense we're going to run, you got to be able to make plays, but you also got to play under control. And I felt like over the last 3 years, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like many times you saw it in the South Carolina game, we over pursued. We didn't really know how to take good angles. And a lot of times you saw those big plays, especially on third down, not even like blowing coverages, but just not in the right gap integrity. And you saw it. And I think Caleb Spencer's a guy that, he's athletic enough where you can put him out in space. He's going to make plays. I like him a lot. And the other kid I like, I don't know how much snaps he's going to get, but it's Lauren Johnson's son, Peanut. He came in also last year and played. He had a great game against Cal. He's a young guy. I don't know what Franklin and Price plans are for him, but he comes from that Johnson lineage, and he really made some plays. I felt like when injuries came in, you saw it in the NC State game, because when Boundary Corner previewed that game along with a few other platforms, everybody was like, oh, we got all these new faces, whatever. And I was like, good. Let's see what they can do, because you saw when they got in, they started to make plays. But I think Caleb Woodson's an all-conference guy, and that says a lot because the ACC has, 16 teams, 15, something like that. But I feel like schematically, he also put on a lot of muscle, really worked hard. I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be one of those leaders that may not be a captain as far as like he was named one, but I'm talking about as far as like that vocal guy. But behind the scenes on the sideline and with the guys, they really respect him a lot. And I think he's going to be the front runner and the head of that linebacker group.
This is one of those position groups that concerns me a little bit. If I'm being honest, I mean, Caleb Spencer, I love. He's a workhorse, very good football player. But then, there's other guys like Keon Wiley and then Curtis Jones Jr. I mean, Keon Wiley comes over from Penn State, redshirt junior, Curtis Jones Jr., West Virginia transfer. We haven't seen those guys in maroon and orange. So that will be interesting to see just kind of what kind of reps those guys are getting. And then I really like Noah Chambers a lot. 16 on the defense. Big fan of Noah Chambers. I think he's a very freakishly athletic kid. He's young. He's a true sophomore. So, again, there's a lot of rotating you can do here defensively. Like I imagine schematically, Coach Pry will have a lot of packages dialed up. But just there's part of me that really wishes we could have gotten that kid from JMU. But then again, he was one of those kids, I guess, who had gone to the NFL. So listen to me talk now. I'm just mad he went to I'm just mad he went to UCLA. That's why.
They saying because of his situation that he never actually signed a contract, that he's going to be eligible.
All right.
and I mean, I get ultimately why he's at UCLA.
Of course.
But at the same time,
I
anytime someone eats off your plate, it hurts, even if there's good reason for it.
Of course. That's the homer in me, so I can't. I'm just messing around. But really, gentlemen, the tragic story here, is Dwight briefly alluded to it, is Gabe Williams. I mean, that young man has had a rough go at it. Being plagued by injury, and then, he had some personal matters off the field a couple of years ago, which obviously we all know about. And so he's been a player ever since he committed to Virginia Tech as a 4-star prospect who I've been really excited about, but just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So it truly is a bummer that right now he's banged up, and we probably won't see him for a while.
Yeah, I mean,
and also, and when Grayson was talking, I was also thinking about too, like when he said he wasn't as confident, certain. And I understand that, because whether Prize at DC or even going back to other DCs or other linebacker coaches, you know, when Virginia Tech, again, I'm not even speaking on a historical perspective and nostalgia, but when you have a linebacker group, whether it's, you know, when we have Vince Hall and the DB or Vegas Robinson and those guys, or even going back to Myron Newsom and George Del Rico and Tony Morrison or whatever, like when you, or even Housewright and those guys. When Virginia Tech has linebackers, that kid Anderson, he was a hybrid linebacker. Justin Anderson?
James Anderson.
James Anderson. Like, when we have linebackers, we're cooking with grease. And I love Noah. I'm glad Grayson brought him up. But I think with that group, to me, what does concern me is reliability and depth. I remember in the chat is the unedited version of these conversations, but we gave up a lot of big plays. Think about the Syracuse. I mean, just so many games over the last couple of years. I'm like, where are our linebackers? I mean, and then we would get a dumb penalty, a target. It's just wanted to speak on it. Grayson was spot on about that.
Yeah, and Fry's the DC, so we, you know.
Oh, we definitely gonna talk about that. We definitely gonna talk about that.
We are. It's coming. Hold on. We're gonna let Tally lead that.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You want to go for it, Tally? I mean,
Brett,
we were gonna ask about Noah Chambers, but y'all gave y'all opinions on him. So.
Yeah, I mean,
go for it, Tally.
Noah's gonna do some big things. So I'm excited about Noah.
Yeah. So Brett Pry, for all that he is, all of the Hokie that he is, he had us in hell for about 4 years. And you know, Coach Franklin asked him to stay. He's out DC. He's got to atone for some sins, man. He's got to put the defense back where it's supposed to be. How do y'all feel about Brett Pry as the DC and what it's going to look like this year in year one?
I'm going to keep it real right now. I have no problem with Coach Pry, the man, and he has always been so kind and good to me. Every interaction I've had with him has been overwhelmingly positive. But really, my patience with that is razor thin. To me, you got one season. You got one season to get it right, or you gotta get rid of him. We had him as a head coach for 4 seasons. Like, recruiting worries me there still. I get it. Coached Micah Parsons. God bless. That was while he was at Penn State. But I don't know, man. Like, if it doesn't work out this year and we're getting just absolutely torched by some of these teams, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, you got to get new blood top to bottom. That's my opinion. Some people might disagree with that. I know he was a great DC for Franklin at Penn State, and that's all fine and that's all dandy, but he was our head coach for 4 years, and this kind of thing don't really happen. It's kind of an anomaly, and I know they have a great relationship. Again, hunky-dory, fantastic. Fuente had a relationship and a good friendship with Brad Cornelsen. He refused to fire him, and that was his downfall. So guess what? You know, sometimes you don't shit where you eat, gentlemen, and you gotta do what you gotta do. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, I think for me, man, the biggest disappointment. I'm a Pry guy, especially when he got hired, but I still love Brent Pry. But I just feel like I was surprised because. Reason why I signed off on a hire, even though he had no head coaching experience, because I was there as a youngin, and he was there as a youngin when he was there with Foster and Almation, arguably one of the most legendary college football staffs in college football history. Not just at Tech, but in the history of college football, that staff they had. And he saw what it took. He was there when we first beat Miami in program history. He saw the work ethic. He saw it. I'm not one of these guys that got to hang on to how it used to be when I played. And I like the evolution of college football and some of the things they do, whether it's how they get hydrated or even some of the tools they use to help with recovery, or, you know, you don't need to go full pads every day. I'm fine with that. But as far as, the stuff that came out once he would let go from arriving to practice on time or not playing the right guys. So to me, outside of his scheme and whether or not he'll be able to get the right personnel on the field, being able to motivate guys is also, is this going to be a revenge tour, or is this going to be something where you're second guessing yourself? It's kind of like, I'm going to take, I'm a movie guy. It's kind of like when Rocky came back to fight Clubber Lang, Mr. T, and he was on the beach, and, Apollo was like, "You good, bro? Come on." He was like, "I'm afraid, all right? I'm afraid." You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't have those moments, man. He's got to come in there. He can't blink. And we talk about Noah Chambers and Caleb Spencer and some of the other young guys in the secondary and the team. I have to trust that Franklin and him had a long conversation about what went wrong. And maybe it was some personal stuff. Maybe it was just he was overwhelmed. I know my cousin Mike talked very openly about how hard it was and how he was overwhelmed at Norfolk State being a head coach. And that's a Division I program on a lower level. So it happens to the best of them. I mean, if we keeping it real, Beamer's first handful of years in Blacksburg, he was overwhelmed and he missed on some players, should have played him sooner. He was on my podcast a few years ago, and he talked about how there were several games he wished he had back, like the Michigan Sugar Bowl game when Danny Cole did the fake punt. So a lot of guys will miss on it, what it takes, but I think Pry is where he can flourish. I just wonder, how it's going to be when it comes to not just the accountability, but getting the right guys. How well will him and the defensive coach come together? And, you got Anthony Midget, my longtime friend and brother on the secondary. What kind of energy are they going to have? Because with defense, typically in high school and college and even pro football, defense at the start of the season is ahead of the offense. So the defense should come out. I think VMI is a great game to come out and get your feet wet and get everybody some good snaps. But then ODU's a step up. So my biggest question mark regarding the early part of the season is how they do on the road against Maryland, a team coming off 2 back-to-back 4-8 seasons, a program other than a few years with Ralph Friedgen has never cared about football, a stadium that Virginia Tech historically has come in and taken over with their fans. Even when Virginia Tech was ranked 5th in the nation when they had Marcus Vick at quarterback, Maryland Tech came in there and took over the trap. Maryland wanted to get rid of him, but they didn't have enough money. So if you can go on the road and you win a game 38-16 defensively, that's a big step. But right now, I know what everybody's thinking. We love Pry the man, but we need to be able to trust Pry the coordinator.
That's it. And I think it's what Grayson also said a few minutes ago, too. It's razor thin. Not with everybody. Not with everybody. That guy over here, where is he? That guy, you see him in the black hat? Oh, I can't wait till he has one bag because I'm gonna just literally say, Tally, just say what you need to say about and
talk about it a little bit.
And it's nothing wrong with that. It's because we've all got scar tissue.
Yeah,
he just said it. 4 years, 3-9, 3-9, 7-6, 6-7. That is not the standard here. So when you do that for 4 years, and then you have all these other stories come out, and again, I do think one thing about him. I think he was a player's coach. I think that is the vibe I get from hearing the players talk about him. Shelton's smiling really big. You got some stories, Shelton, to share?
No.
But I think he was a player's coach. And to be a head coach, I don't think you can be a player's coach.
Nah, so you can be a player's coach and hold people accountable. The problem was he was a player's coach that wasn't holding the players accountable.
Because he had never been a head coach before.
But he had seen it done. So I think the biggest thing is that it's like he got there and wanted to do the things he knew worked well, but he didn't know how to be that guy to an entire team.
He didn't know how to be the authority to the entire team.
Because when you're defensive coordinator, you're focused on getting your guys in line, but the head coach is still setting the tone, and it's trickling down to you. I don't think he knew how to set the tone as a leader of the other coaches for them to then set the tone for their units. From an accountability perspective, from a preparation perspective, he was just not that guy as a head coach. We've seen what he's been able to do not only as a DC, but as a DC under this head coach. And I think that's where the distinction is. And that's why, the line has been wherever Franklin went after Penn State, Brent Pry was going to be his first call for defensive coordinator. The weird part of it is that he's at Virginia Tech and Brent Pry was his first call as defensive coordinator. That's why it's weird, because we still have scar tissue. So he's got some fences to mend and some bridges to rebuild with Hokie Nation from a trust perspective. I think most people like Brent Pry the person, and if he can rebuild that trust as Brent Pry the coach, this could be a good thing. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take a whole lot more games than VMI to get there.
You're damn right. Shelton has to go, so he's got one more question he was going to lay on y'all before he dipped out.
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, I agree with all the stuff you guys were saying. I think it was just lack of attention to detail. I think that is what Franklin really prides himself on. It's just he's a control freak. Like, he wants to be in control of everything, but he has a body of work to back him up. And I think we need. I'm actually going to write for the key play next week. Spoiler. I'm going to write that Virginia Tech needs a control freak like James Franklin, to someone who actually can set the tone and care about the tiny details that go into building a winning organization. So just wanted to get my piece out on that one. All right, so we're talking about obviously Pry and the defense as well. The first 4 games, obviously, we know that it's not the most rigorous of schedules, but obviously we want to get the losing streak against non-conference Power 4 foes off our backs. So as we focus on the defense, are there any particular statistical areas that you guys are going to be paying attention to evaluate the defense in those first few games?
Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight.
Yes.
Takeaways, game-winning plays, takeaways and game-winning plays, and not stupid penalties like targeting. I mean, my guy Jordan Bass came in, young guy that played out of Phoebus High School, transferred to Tech from Pittsburgh, is a vicious hitter, and he's athletic, but he would negate some of his plays with targeting, or at least in that gray area where they had to review it. I remember Pry's first year as head coach being at ODU. I went to that game in person, and I remember my son leaned over to me in the second half, and he was like, "Our guys aren't making game-winning plays," and we dropped 4 interceptions that night. Virginia Tech defensively is a program that thrived off turnovers, non-offensive touchdowns. So the biggest thing I'm looking, like, not just against VMI, but against BC, against Maryland, when you're playing a team that has an inferior quarterback, or then they're inconsistent on offense, we have to make them pay. We have to get turnovers. And I feel like, in the last handful of years, we just were a very passive defense. So I'm looking for that. Just some guys that want to step up and make plays. I mean, again, not to lean and just keep talking about the nostalgia of the good old days, but just when you look at the players, like, give it to me, Roscoe. Give it to me when D'Angelo Hall took the ball from Roscoe against Miami, or Eric Green. Guys like that, just getting turnovers, man. Campus talk. Yeah. So it's just one of those things, man, where I'm looking for that. I know Sheldon's gone, but I'm just answering. I'm looking for game-winning plays, and also getting turnovers. I think I heard you on the show one night, Curtis. You said, I don't know, it was one of y'all that said our numbers were horrendous last year with takeaways.
That's how many interceptions we had last year.
That's deplorable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is a lot. I mean, shouldn't even be able to carry the lunch pail out there with those kind of numbers. That's an abomination. To parallel but not piggyback here, I'm looking for bullies, man. I've been looking for bullies for a long time. Dwight just talked about his longtime friend and former teammate, Anthony Midget. Somebody posted the clip the other night of him popping one of the Syracuse receivers like a zit. With Virginia Tech, in those days, Ike Charlton put Pat Woodcock to sleep. Like, we used to bully people. I want players on defense who play with an edge, and that you can say that, right? A defense that plays with an edge doesn't miss tackles. You know, whether that's the first level or the second level. Our missed tackles over the last 4 years have been, I mean, I'm balding in general, but I've lost more hair because of that, because of our missed tackles. I swear. Like, I would just watch our defense just get Swiss cheese by these inferior teams. I'm thinking, what are we doing in practice? On a more serious note, I want to see that our defensive line can get to the opposing quarterback. You know, I want to.
Have to.
You have to. I feel like our sack numbers have been down.
Yep.
And we just have not been able to get consistent pressure on our opposition's quarterback. And then, if I'm being honest, you know, it kind of plays into the missed tackles in the second level of the defense. The third level of the defense, you know, don't get beat. I'm a little concerned about some of the clips I'm seeing from practice from one player in particular who will remain nameless because I respect him. He plays for my team, but holy shit, if I see one more clip of that player getting
captain, my captain.
I don't know about all that, but I will leave it there. I've seen too many clips of that one player, and I don't need to see any more.
Hey,
I'll leave it at that.
You know, when we talk about turnovers,
he's a kid. He's a young man.
Yeah. The fall, you know, Grayson, you talked about the fall off from what we saw with APR to whatever that was last year.
Correct.
Was so stark. It was like
night and day.
It was so bad, man. We could not get after the quarterback at all. We weren't going to be great in the secondary for a lot of reasons last year, but then after the opt-outs and everything with Pry and injury, and you can't rush the passer, and now you got this, you know, group of cornerbacks, you know, God bless them, but some of those guys, for one reason or another, probably were on the field too much, right?
Yeah.
And it was not a good situation. So we got to get to a point where you're not only forcing turnovers, but you're doing things that force those turnovers, like getting after the passer, whether that's a strip sack, whether that's forcing the ball out early and the quarterback makes a bad decision and throws the ball right to a defender. Like all those things, it all works together to create a situation where you force those turnovers. So we got to get better at all those things. I know I threw it up there earlier, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Torrey Smith. Because every time I see this up there, I'm like, okay, this is going back to that Torrey Smith tweet from like 4 years back about, hey, you know College Park's better than Blacksburg because they've got an on-campus Target. You can walk to Target.
Oh, thank
Hey,
God.
yo, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
Stafford County, stand up, baby. Torrey Smith.
Listen, bro. What was he, 0-3 against Tech? Tech fans were going back and forth, and I almost jumped in it and was to go back and forth. I was like, you know, Tech fans got it because it's like, bro, I've been to Maryland twice when Tech came up there. When Tech was ranked 3rd or 4th or 5th in the nation, and I was at the game my wife went to the game when Ralph Beamer's mom passed, and we beat the brakes out of them 55-6. I was at the Maryland game for a second time when we went up there, and Maryland revealed their all-black Under Armour uni. So Nike gave us the all-white uniforms, and we smashed them. Ryan Williams and Tyrod and Darrell Roberts and those guys went crazy. Jared Boykin. Maryland does not like football. I don't know what Torrey's talking about. You guys, I live up here. Y'all do not like football. Y'all do not like college football. Y'all do. If there's a,
it's all about Lefty and Gary. That's what they like up there.
Yes, if there's a program I want to beat, to start them. I live up here. The Junkies, shout out to the Junkies, 106.7. You know, they don't even, the only guy that covers college football in this area in the media is Danny Noakes, my old co-host. When he hosts, they don't even cover college football. That's why I'm like, Maryland, listen, and Franklin knows this. You got to beat teams like that for recruiting purposes, perception. They're in the Big Ten. They left because they weren't making money. They didn't want to leave the ACC. Under Armour bought that, got them the money because they're Maryland grads. The Terps suck it, but kill me with birds. That place is a dump. Maryland, come on, man. Stop it. Yeah, I'm not, listen, that would be, to me, a step back if we lose that game. I'm telling y'all right now. I know there's probably some Tech fans that will look at Miami and other programs as the measuring stick. To me, when you go on the road, to Grayson's point, I need some Wreck-It Ralphs. I need some goons. Yeah. I need some people that come in there. I remember Jimmy Williams and Aaron Rouse and the DB and those guys going in stadiums and taking the turf and putting it in a lunch pail. I remember, you know, Virginia Tech, the first 3 years in the ACC, they were 16-1 on the road. There was a certain attitude. People do not remember there were a contingency of ACC teams, Carolina, Duke, Coach K and them, that did not want us in the conference because we didn't fit the ACC way, that shirt and tie bullshit. So to me, I like to come in. You talk about what I like to see. I want to see more attitude. Tech came in, and people don't realize we carried the torch when Florida State was recovering from post-Bowden syndrome, and Miami could never match the hype that came with being the U was back. We were the ones that did that. And then in 2011, Clemson came in and beat the brakes off us, and they took the ACC, and they never looked back. But that's what you got to have, man. Maryland, Tory. Come on, bro. Stop. The Terps, fear the turtle.
I'll never forget, just a quick trip down memory lane, that game that he's talking about, the Under Armour versus the Nike Pro Combat uniforms. I remember it being in Richmond, and you could not find that game on TV anywhere. It was blacked out. And I remember my old man somehow found out, I guess, through the Richmond Hokie Club, that they were showing it at this B-Dubs, way down Broad Street. Way down Broad Street. You know, we're coming from the suburbs in Short Pump, and we get in there, and there's a bunch of VT fans. And, it's like meth streams in there. You can barely see it. It's all pixelated. But I'll never forget going to that B-Dubs and watching that win.
Hell yeah.
It was the most niche watch party of all time. Yeah.
But I got to say this before Brian jumps on the one of our last pieces here. I think what y'all are saying about the Maryland game is right. That you want that to be the way it was, because in the time we've watched it, Grayson, you're younger than us, but you have been a Hokie your whole life.
Correct.
Right? Your whole life. Us 30-plus years. Dwight, 30-plus years because he played. There used to be teams like that would run their mouths in the preseason. We'd be like, okay. And then 55-6 would happen. Or 31-0 would happen. Okay, you want to run your mouth. You want to talk shit. Okay, you're about to get belt to ass. And we used to do that. And that's what I think for that game, that's what I want to see. I want to see they're running their mouth. They're chirping. They're we're going to beat you. And it's I want to be this old, okay, and then just go belt to ass, 3-4 touchdown win, and say, you got anything else to say, young man?
Their fans are already chirping on Twitter.
Oh, they've been chirping.
We got to get on their ass.
That's what I'm getting mad. Oh my God. I just don't have. I'm so busy because I see that, and Tally knows. I will take off. I will reschedule my afternoon for a Twitter war. I will literally sit in here in my office and I'll be like, I will go back and forth and troll, and because I can do that. But this is why I get mad with our fall off, because Maryland knew. I forgot a game I went to. I went to 2 at Maryland and 1 on Thursday night, the infamous game where we won 23-13. And Darren Evans ran over them. Yeah. Hey, shout out to Tori. You was in that game. And you won.
Torrey Smith, if you're watching tonight, this was just for you.
That team had Darius Hayward Bay.
Yeah.
That team had Darius Hayward Bay. We beat their ass.
Yeah, bro, stop, man, stop. They. Oh my God, the arrogance of a program that complained about games being at 12 and 1 o'clock. I've been living up here for 26 years, and they complained about how we and other programs came and took over their stadium. Now you in the Big Ten, it's even worse when Michigan fans don't even think about y'all. I mean, what are you doing? Y'all in the big now basketball, hats off. Great basketball.
100%.
Yeah, but football, come on, man. Yeah.
All right, let's get ready to wrap this thing up.
Curtis, real quick to your point, what you're saying about like the talk and then back it up. 09 Miami is a prime example of that. I remember ESPN, like Haynes back, Hughes back, Swagger's back, Ja'Cory Heisman. They're going to beat the shit out of the Hokies. 31-7 in the pouring down rain.
Belt to ass.
Yep. That's all I wanted to say.
That's a good way to kind of segue in here, man. Like, I think what the overarching thought is from everything we've been talking about, it really goes back to Franklin and changing the mindset at Virginia Tech. And in some ways, reestablishing the mindset. And I mean, I know that's been a buzzword for kind of the off season, but bringing a mentality that's different than what we've seen in Blacksburg for a good while, whether it's the conversation that came out of the BOV. It's like we're doing better. We're doing the things we need to do, but we need to keep doing more. Because if we want to compete for what we want to do, we got to be up a little bit higher. And I'm gonna give a negative shout out to Dan Wolken for somehow twisting that into he's doing it already and all that bullshit. Y'all can see that bullshit conversation on Twitter if you want to go check that out. But yeah, but back to the point. What are y'all thoughts on the way Franklin's changing the mindset? And is that the thing that you're kind of leaning on as we move into this 2026 season, as far as how you're gauging success for this season?
Well, I mean, I think you see it in the Set in Stone video or the Set in Stone series. I mean, however many episodes there have been of that now, where it's just everything that I've seen about Coach Franklin is he comes from a big program energy. Like I remember being out here in LA a couple of years ago. I know a lot of Penn State alum out here who are good friends of mine, and I went to the Rose Bowl where they beat up on Utah. And that's back in my textbook, I hate James Franklin days. But I remember watching that game and thinking, dadgummit, that is a well-coached football team. Like just the from top to bottom execution, the physicality, and I hope, it is my sincere hope based on what I've seen in practice and what Dwight talked about earlier, the everything else. You want to be a tough guy? That's all bullshit. He said that in Set in Stone. He's a big college football program guy. He wins where he goes. Obviously, we saw what happened in the denouement Penn State. I actually really do think one day they're going to regret letting him go. And I know what I said, and people will still give me shit for it years from now. Grayson, you didn't even want him. Well, I've changed my mind. Guess what? Sue me. I'm glad he's here. So I hope he just brings – I hope the mental toughness, the mental fortitude to what we've seen in practice in the brief clips translates to what we see on the football field. I think he's doing things at a very high level.
Yeah, and I'll just second that. I kind of knew he was coming. I remember I told you guys, I said, I can't say no, but I think it's going to be Franklin, like 3 months before he was hired, just my sources and things like that. But I liked Franklin. I'll be honest with you. I paid attention to Penn State because at the time when he was starting his legacy and building Penn State up, I was writing for Rivals and switched to 247, writing a column called Vick's Viewpoints. And I knew Ricky Slade Jr., who was a top 5 player in the nation, a guy out here at Woodbridge, Virginia, who went to Penn State and was heavy on tech. I remember Devin Ford, being a guy in Prince William, watching him at North Stafford. he liked Virginia Tech, but he chose Penn State. There were a ton of guys he kept getting in the 7-5 Northern Virginia, Richmond area that were Tech guys. And between him and Pry, he was taking advantage of Beamer on the way out in retirement and Fuente not caring about Virginia. And then, just coming in and getting guys that were Tech guys that usually would commit, or at least if we didn't get them, we would finish second. And, I saw what he did, but I didn't pay attention to them in a way where I was hating, because I felt like we were struggling so bad to win 7 games. They were in a whole different stratosphere, being in the Big Ten and competing with Ohio State and Michigan. And ultimately, man, like, I'm happy he's here, but I will say this as a disclaimer, and I've said this multiple times on Big Dog Sports Talk on Thursday mornings. I agree with Grayson 100%. He's a winner. He's a leader, and he demands respect. And I know some people think he sucks all the air up in the room. I like his energy. But at the same time, here's a disclaimer. He's got something to prove too, because he didn't go out on his own terms, and people are doubting him. And when you get humbled like that, when you get humiliated, as I mentioned, like with Brian Randall and Tyrod Taylor and other people, when you get humiliated, you have 2 choices. You can rise up or fall off. And you could see in his interview on game day, he was hurt and he was mad. He was motivated. And he's very pissed off. I wonder if the guy sleeps sometimes. I'll say this as part of my disclaimer. He's won at Vandy. He's won at Penn State. But like the players I mentioned on this roster, he has not won at Virginia Tech. So he has to show and prove that he can win here. And this, people might not believe me because, Vanderbilt, hold on, Dwight, Vick. Well, Vanderbilt had no expectations. Penn State was coming off a scandal of one of the most egregious scandals in life, right? And coming to Tech, this is going to be his hardest job, because the expectations here, the Hokie Nation fan base and the alumni across the DMV, North Carolina, and other parts of this wonderful country are dying for Virginia Tech to be good. Tally has said repeatedly on this great show you guys host that college football is better when Virginia Tech is good and great. And a lot of people that love and respect Virginia Tech that aren't Hokies want Tech to be good. And even people that hate Tech desperately want it to be good because it's better for the rivalries like Miami and potentially West Virginia. So I think Franklin represents a new face, a new age in Blacksburg, because I also say this as I wrap up and land my plane, is that I felt like Virginia Tech administratively had gotten selfish, stale. I believe there was some negligence. I'm not going to say words like embezzlement, but I feel like there were people in there, nepotism and other things going on, where it was a lot of selfish and irregulated shit going on. And I was pissed off. And they knew what they were doing. They were just getting by because nobody was holding them accountable. There's no way a program like that can fall off that badly and nobody have any answers in the Merriman Center. It's unfucking acceptable. And that's what was going on. There was a lot of stuff going on. And now a lot of people, it's kind of like the end of a movie, like in Casino or The Godfather or Mississippi Burning, when people they freeze frame the scene and they show 20 years to life and the guys are getting escorted out the building. That's what needed to happen. We needed guys escorted out of Merriman because there was too many people living off the good old days and they were doing what they wanted to do with our money. And you cannot do that to Hokie Nation. You can't do that. This is a fan base that got us bids to the Sugar Bowl. Go ahead, Tyler. I'm done.
No, you good. I was just going to jump in and say, man, just talking about the mindset, it ain't even big stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like little stuff compared to, new ADs and, getting new people up top, bring and stick it in back. Like what was the big deal? Well, we can't have something that gets the crowd hype. The players like it, the students like it, TV likes it, but the guys up top, we don't want to do that.
It's provocative. It gets the people going. I'm telling you. Well, by the way, Tally, that was. I'll tell you exactly what that was, because God rest his soul, Jim Weaver, and now Whit Babcock is no longer here. I'll tell you exactly what that was. That was the high donating alumni who sat in the West Stands. And keyword is sat in the West Stands and they were mad because the band used their flutes as props. Oh, we can't have that here in Virginia. No. We can't have that here. No, you can have it. You can have it. And so they went above Jim Weaver's head, God rest his soul, to Steger, and they say, you don't get rid of that sacrilege, blasphemous shit of pulling donations. And guess what? His hands were tied, and that's why they got rid of it. And guess what? This might piss some people off. All them people are with the Lord now. And so guess what? Now it's back.
Hey, yo.
Hold on. And you know why it's back?
Flip it.
Flip it. And you know why it's back? Because all the people writing high donation checks now were sitting in north end zone and east stands. Standing and screaming their lungs out and loved it. Guess what they're doing now? They stroking the checks and saying, oh, would you like this?
Damn right.
I was here when that went on. It's going to come back.
That's 20 years ago. 2007 is the last time that was a mainstay in Lane Stadium. And I have it on good authority that it was some of the previous admin who actually were instrumental in bringing it back. So I know I was giving Brian White credit for that the other day, but I have it on good authority that it was actually some of the previous regime who got that back. And I'll tell you, Whit Babcock even said this to me. He said, the second most asked question I get behind is Virginia Tech football going to be good this year is when is Stick It In coming back?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Look, Dwight, you talk about tone setting and just the atmosphere of when Virginia Tech was playing well and playing in big games and had those big moments. Stick It In was a part of that.
It was.
It was part of that whole aura of the Terror Dome. Like that's what we're trying to bring back. And it starts with the play, but it's the whole atmosphere and getting stuff that isn't just an entrance to matter again is what we're trying to get back to.
Brian, me and you sat in the stands. When you in Grayson, you were there as a young man. And
yes, I was.
Dwight, you sat in the stands. When you crossed the 20-yard line, that drum line started. And it was just an energy wave going through the stadium. It's like, yes, we are about to stick this in, and you will hang your head, and you're going to be sad that we just scored again.
And not everything has to be sexual innuendo. Like, can we just appreciate something for being a dope-ass beat? Can we not have that? Can we not have that? I mean, I know that was 20 years ago, but still.
No, you're right, Grayson. Shout out to Grayson. I told y'all, bro. Everybody watching when y'all re-air this, follow this dude on TikTok. The same as you getting. I've been following him now for a few years. Told you, Grayson's my guy. I told y'all years ago, Grayson's my guy. Hey, look, though, real quick. Shout out to you guys, my brothers, my Boundary Corner bros. You guys are the best in the business, man. Like, I appreciate y'all letting me come on and talk my ish. I told you. And also, to the point that Grayson made, I just feel like egos ruin everything. Whether you're watching a VH1 documentary or 30 for 30, Kobe and Shaq, or it's just egos, man. Like, that program belongs to all of us. The Fullers, the Vicks, all of us, everybody, the fan base, Hokie Nation. When you start taking out Stick It In, or you start hoarding money or trying to mess with what we created, or just trying to hire all your friends and family, or looking the other way when something needs to be dealt with, we all lose. And you can't do that. You can't do that with something that's precious. As I always say, every year I come on y'all platform as we wrap up, this is my favorite team, bro. Like, y'all don't understand, dude. Yeah. Like, y'all do understand, but like, I think we do. When I sat there in my living room, I remember I sat in my living room when we lost to Matt Ryan. I was sitting there, one of my best friends called me, and I just was frozen in my living room because I was going to go to the game, but then I had to work. And then, it was a Thursday night, and we lost. I was sick. Or even when we lost to Fitzgerald, and we had Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones went wild, and we lost to Fitzgerald, or so many painful losses. So I live and die with this program, bro. Like 3-7 last year, that shit hurt, bro. Like it was awful. Because, you know, I do parlays and I do fantasy football. I watch the league, but not like I watch tech football. I will carve out 4 hours, man. So, and it's just like I watch y'all show. I watch it every time it comes on. I may be quiet in the comments, so then I may jump in. So I appreciate what y'all doing, man. Thank you, and shout out to your sponsors. I know Tally was quiet because Tally's waiting for this season. I cannot wait to see Tally hold them accountable. Hopefully, we're doing more praise. Hopefully, we're doing more congratulations and praise and game balls than we are who needs to go.
100%. 100%.
Time.
You know, I'm going to make one real quick statement. If y'all want to say something, you can. A lot of people got pissed off about the reestablished 2026. I didn't, because we need to be reestablished. We need to be reestablished. This program has not been the same in a decade. It hasn't.
15 years.
You go 15. That's
15
fine.
years.
That's acceptable to me. But a lot of people are like, what do you mean we got to be reestablished? We've always been Virginia Tech. And it's like, from 1993 to 2011 was this 18-year stretch. We were never bad. We were always ranked. We were always in the national. And people that were getting mad about, yeah, but, you know, we're still Virginia Tech. And it's like, that's not what I grew up with. That's not the first time I went to a game in 2003. That's not what I walked into. The last 10 plus, 15 plus years has not been Virginia Tech. So when we talk about the change of the B team mindset, when you see that reestablished, I want you to close your eyes. And Grayson, you mentioned 2007. Think about 2007. Think about those teams. That's the VT that we know. That's the mindset we want. And when James Franklin said it had the shirts put reestablished, people that got upset should have checked themselves, because to me it tells you haven't been paying attention to football for the last 15 years. You haven't did what Dwight, Vick, and Grayson Wimbish. I said Wimbish.
There you go.
Dwight, Jonathan Talley, Brian Siegler, and Curtis Wilson do. We do live and die with this team. This is our team. This is the team that I have stayed up on the phone with my buddy in San Diego after the Boise State game till 2:00 in the morning because we were so pissed. Me and Brian accidentally walking out behind the building at work and said, let's talk about the game for a few minutes. 40 minutes later, oh shit. Oops. We didn't got carried away here. It matters. This program, I think, matters so much to so many people. And when you hear saying reestablished and you see the gentleman who's coming in who has consistently, he stole our talent for years, hated him for it. Sorry. If he listens to this one day, we hated you for it. But you're ours now. Go steal somebody else's talent.
Hey, Grayson don't realize, Grayson, real quick, you don't realize when I fell in love with your game as far as being a media personality, when you were on Sunday Saturday, I remember exactly where I was. I was going to FedEx office to put together a proposal and a portfolio, and I was listening to you. And I don't even know if you remember this, but this is when tech started to decline. And I don't know if you realize it, but you laid into Billy Ray. You were like, dude, you don't understand. You're new here. I'm paraphrasing. He said, I've been around this program since I was in my dad's nutsack. And you went off, and I was like, thank you. Because the theme of the conversation was Virginia Tech. The question was, is Virginia Tech still a great job? And Grayson was like, are you kidding me? And Grayson went off, and I remember I said, yo, I knew who you were, but I didn't. I said, I like this dude's, because I'm very passionate. And I was like, no disrespect to Billy, ain't no shade to him. It's just like, yeah, you came, you're new. I've been around here since we were sponsored by Starter. But go ahead, Grayson. I just wanted to say that memory
to that
resonates.
And we can. I know we're running a little long, and that's okay. I love doing this. I mean, I'm happy to be here. To that point, Dwight, my first memories of watching VT football, I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more. Watching your cousin, Mike, with my dad in Lane Stadium. I would always ask my dad where he was on the field. I'm 30 years old, and the last time we won an ACC championship, I was a freshman in high school. It's been 15 years. That's how long it's been. I was a freshman in high school. And all I'll say to Curtis's point, put a bow on it, is I know all of y'all can resonate with this. When Virginia Tech football wins, food on Sunday tastes better. Your coffee tastes better. Beer is colder. The air is more crisp. You got a pep in your freaking step. And guess what? 3 times last year, and the 7 before that, and the 3 before that, it ain't frick enough.
It's not.
So guess what? I need. All I'm saying is that man wins 10 games a year. We'll build a statue just like Coach Beans.
Damn
God
right.
bless.
I like the way you say that. With that being said, with our special guests tonight, Dwight, Vick, and Grayson Wimbish, that wraps up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast, brought to you by Moments on the Moor. I think we lost Phil for a little while there, guys, in Lexington. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
Visit BoundaryCornerBT.com to listen to all of our episodes. You can go find the episode where Dwight Vick literally called and said, Jeff Overton Jr. is going to be special. I'll never forget that. That was one of those winter nights we talked with you. While you're there, follow us everywhere we are: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube account, favorite podcast source. We let our buddy Jason Long, happy birthday, Jason, today, play us in, play us out. Check his website, jasonlongmusic.com, out, where you can link to everything of his: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook pages. Also check out where he will be live down in the Roanoke area. We appreciate all y'all for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.